What's up, fam? This is the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to the Hope TV. Hope you tuned in for your daily dose of hope. Hope you've been blessed. Hope you're safe, still maintaining your sanity. Welcome to Marriage Matters. We're so glad to have you back with us. We're excited about this show.
Yes,
we got started last week, and actually we are excited about you tuning in today. It's going to be an incredible time. We're going to finish up the conversation from last week. But I want to thank you for tuning in. It's been an amazing blessing to have so many of you to be a part of the Hope TV family. We started with just a meager attempt to stay in contact with our members throughout the pandemic back in March. And from March up until today, over 30 million views of our content via the cumulative platforms. And that's only by the grace of God. Wonderful support like you, and aided by a little bit by the fact that nothing's on TV.
Right.
You know, NBA and the Major League Baseball, nothing is on TV, so that doesn't hurt us at all. But either way, we're still grateful. So thank you for your support, and thank you for being part today. And if you've not yet followed the Hope TV, please do so. Follow us on social media. We have 3 platforms that you can follow. I want to thank God for those of you who've been following us on our IG. We're trying to get that up to 3,000 followers by the end of this quarter, and you already have done over 2,200 already, and I'm grateful to God for you. So you can follow Hope TV on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter, and also you can follow the church, the Household Atlanta. I miss you guys so much. I love y'all so much. Miss you. If you're not yet follow our church on all things social media, you can do it on, of course, on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those platforms are up there, and information is there. Please follow us if you've not yet done it. And then last but not least, you can follow me on social media as well. I'm grateful to all of you, those subscribers. The YouTube channel, didn't know I had a YouTube channel. So those people who've been just following that channel, it's been growing exponentially. I'm grateful to you. So you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter, and on Periscope. So thank you so very much for your viewership. If you're watching today by Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, the househopeatl.com website, the edoitsmith.org website, the Household Atlanta app, the edoitsmith app. However you're viewing, we're grateful to you for your viewership. And if you're watching through a medium that will allow you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share, please do so right now. To my mother-in-law who's watching, please just watch it, because she ended up hitting the Facebook Live. Just watch, mother. Don't touch nothing. I'm not talking to you, but everybody else, subscribe, like, comment, and share. It helps us. As I'm telling the truth, you know, we don't want you on your Facebook Live with your Noxzema on your face and your head and your flannel. So just don't hit nothing. Just keep watching, mother. If you're watching, I love you, and I see you soon. So, but if you're watching, you can subscribe, like, comment, share. That helps us with our algorithms tremendously. And please send it out. If you know a married couple, somebody who's strongly considering marriage, please send that link. It's going to be an inspirational time of sharing. And I want to thank you for being a part of it. I'm very, very excited to have you with us. I'm sorry for talking about mother. But before we get into our show, let me give a shout out to our sponsors, Faith Social. You guys have been absolutely amazing in helping us to spread the message. Listen, Faith Social is a revolutionary app that creates a wholesome, one-of-a-kind digital experience. I mean, you can connect with other believers all over the world for prayer. You can worship. There are blogs there, study tools, study guides. It is an amazing experience. You can get prayer support, all types of resources there, and personalized content. So you can get it. You can download it from the Apple Store. You can get it on Google Play. But I want to just give a shout out. It's a powerful app. And in these times, we need more inspiration, more hope. And so go to www.faithsocial.com, download that app, and thank me later. You're going to thank me later, because it's very, very powerful, and very positive, very uplifting. So shout out to our sponsors at Faith Social. You guys are helping us to bring that daily dose of hope, and I appreciate it. So if you've not yet followed them, go to faithsocial.com, download it. You also can go to Faith Social on Instagram. Follow them as well there, and leave them a message. Let them know that you found out about the platform and the app on Hope TV. We're back today. Underproduced this show, and what do you think about it last week? How do you feel about last week?
Oh, it was incredible, and I can't wait to get to talk to them again.
Yeah, we want to welcome back, and you can go, if you missed last week, you can go back in the archives and watch it later. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Very, very inspirational. fun, but powerful and helpful, transformative, to be honest. So we're happy to have back with us Pastor Lee and Robin May. What's up, May family? How you guys doing?
Hey, we are
Hey,
so
y'all.
excited to be back.
Glad to
Good to
have
be
you back
here.
with us. We appreciate it. And certainly we're so excited to have with us Maurice and Janice Anderson, phenomenal couple as well. Welcome back, Anderson family.
Hey everybody.
How you guys doing?
We're
Glad to
doing
have
pretty
you
good.
back.
How are you
Thanks
guys?
for having us back.
Outstanding, outstanding. Do you want to get started with your first question?
Sure. I want to know from both couples, when we got married, one of the things that we had a hard time finding was a couple who we thought could be mentors for us, who we knew had a happy marriage. So my mom was one of 12, and we could only find one of her siblings that had a happy marriage. Out of all of them, on his side of the family, there were the same thing. No happy marriages. All of his aunts and uncles divorced. His parents divorced. My parents had been separated. So I want to know how did you guys? Who did you use as role models? Robin, were you looking for somebody like your dad? Lee, were you looking for somebody like your mom? And for the Andersons too, how did you guys, look for a mentor and what you were looking for in a mate?
It is so funny you asked that question because I remember um, prior to getting married, like when Lee and I were planning the wedding and prior to getting married, and maybe the first year of marriage, when I look back on that, I can remember being a bit arrogant um, because we had been gone through premarital. We had been, when you leave your hometown, I'm from Dallas, Lee is from all over, and we landed in Atlanta. And, when you leave your hometown, you are exposed to new opportunities, exposed to new things. And so you kind of start to feel yourself a little bit, right? And I remember the first year, before I got married, in the first year of marriage, looking at my parents' marriage. My parents at this point are probably celebrating about 53 years of marriage, and your parents about
50 next year.
50 next year. And I remember looking at both couples and being a bit arrogant, feeling like, oh, I'm gonna do it different. I mean, we're gonna do it different from them. And then around year two, you start to realize, hold on now, come back. Now, how did you stay together for 50 years? Like, what did you do to stay together for 50 something years? It really humbled you once you get in it. And so I know for me, like you, both of you, we were told, people were telling us, I mean, after that first year of marriage, I mean, they were basically telling us we were going to be miserable. And I remember us fighting to find people that we could look to and respect. And I think what we both can say, what we've learned to do, and this is just hindsight, and this is just wisdom, is take the good and let go of the bad. Like in every couple, there are things that you can find that you can respect. With my parents, their friendship, like they really have a good time together. They've been through it, but they have a good time together. With your parents, you say the longevity, right?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
their stick-to-itness.
I saw them fight for their marriage. So we had two examples. We, again, tremendously blessed because that's not, a lot of people's story. I don't know if that's even most people's story. So we've been blessed with them, and we were able to see in their marriages, like Robin said, things we wanted, things we didn't want. It was a whole lot of things we didn't want as well, but we saw them fight for their marriage. I remember this. There was this. I don't know what this was. We don't espouse to this. We don't agree with this, but there was this thing in kind of church circles where
Oh
we would
my
hear
gosh.
pastors say, God gave me who I needed, not who I wanted. I was like, that's some foolish. That's some foolishness. I don't want to marry somebody that, that I felt like God wanted me to have, but I didn't want to have. I'm like, we could be both. And so what we really strive for, even early on before we got married, is we wanted a happy and a healthy marriage. We believe that you can have both a happy and a healthy marriage. And one of the things that I look for early on was I wanted to see a male presence in the couples who we wanted to be kind of our mentors. So we went through premarital early on. It was nothing but women leading the premarital classes. And I was like, babe, I need to see some men up in here giving me some wisdom, and that. And so in our wedding, so we had the traditional bridesmaids and groomsmen.
Yeah,
First of all, we had the Coming to America wedding. So it was like 4 hours long.
I danced at the wedding.
She danced. Who dances at their own wedding? We had like 3 dances, 4 poems, 20 bridesmaids and groomsmen.
Because remember last week I shared that he called off the wedding.
Yeah, so
by the time we got married, I said, "Oh, go sit here. We're gonna sit here for 2 hours."
But let me tell you, the thing that I love about our wedding the most is that we had what we call covenant couples. So they weren't bridesmaids or bridegrooms, bridesmaids or groomsmen. They were couples that we really respected their marriages, right? And we loved the good and the bad. They opened up their marriage to show us the good, bad, and the ugly. And we believe the God in them and the wisdom that they had. And those couples, we're still in a relationship.
One of the couples is one of the pastors with our church. He's one of the associate pastors.
They were covenant couples. We looked up to him. He's on our pastoral team right now. And so God has brought it all through.
That's beautiful.
So what about you guys, Maurice and Janice? I mean, who did you look at? Was it hard to find somebody, or were you even looking, or
It was definitely very important for us, and you all that know Janice. I mean, when you say it was a whole project ordeal, it was just a lot. Now, it was important to me as well, but where the Lord intervened in my prayers is that He actually sent us someone, a couple. Shout out to Lee and Bobby, and we participated in their small group class, and it might have been only like 3 or 4 couples, but it was amazing. And what was really good about it, when we were looking, part of the criteria for us was that we both wanted to feel good about who they were, right? And I mean, obviously we knew Lee and Robin and some others that's been married for a while, and we've definitely leveraged that, maybe more individually, but we just wanted to feel a collective consensus about. And immediately when we met this couple, I mean, it was just like, oh, that's them, right? And for me, like Lee, when you mentioned like a guy, he's just that guy. He's just that debonair, very similar path. And so it was just really, really good there for us to have it. And I would say one other thing that was been helpful for us is that, not that we sought it out, but other couples would come to us even in our early stage. So us talking through some of their challenges actually helped us. Yeah. I mean, it was just kind of weird. Like they were coming to us for guidance, but we would talk through things, and we were starting to find out like, oh wow, we actually have overcome some other things, or here's how we've done this recently. Like, so, because again, we just at 5 years in, so we're still definitely babes in the process of the longevity. But the other good thing about the couple that we did spend time with, they have been married for 30-something years, and love God, but they were also business minded. They were very balanced. So it wasn't like they were just like, oh, just go in your prayer closet and pray about everything, right? It was just it was amazing, really.
Right. So yes, I agree. Well, everything you just said, and I have some more I want to add. So what was important to us when we were looking for a mentor couple is Maurice and I both have been married previously, and so we refer to our previous marriages as our fire. And so we wanted something, like in absence of having a guide or an advisor that you can go to, you just want everything opposite the fire. Give me something that's opposite the fire. And so it was really important to me before I even thought about marrying or meeting anybody that, that God, I just have somebody I can talk to. I can, that is, and what my dad, Andre, you all asked me about my mom and dad. My father passed when I was 11 years old. So it was hard for me to use that as a come from. So I think for years, my list as what I wanted as a man was kind of like what I didn't see You know, it was kind of like, I never saw this, so I want this, 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 this. And I knew that it was okay, but it wasn't a strong way to say what is the baseline. And so it was just very difficult. And I didn't know many healthy marriages where there was a strong woman. And so I didn't know, how in the world am I going to have this good marriage with this good man who ain't a punk, who ain't weak, and I be fully who I am? I mean, like, really, like, where's that going to be? And that was my prayer. Maurice didn't know that. And I didn't want to talk to nobody. This, I told y'all in the last episode, low-key out of the ghetto, okay? So it's going to come out right now. I didn't want nobody that was going to tell me to pray, baby, fast, speak in tongues. I did all that. And sometimes this Negro get on my nerves. And I need somebody that's going to tell me, after I pray, after I fast, what practically can I do? Because the way I'm set up, I will leave you. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So I needed a couple who was going to be able to deal with me and to give us honest feedback and help us and give us a guided path. And Maurice was right. I mean, like, I had this whole strategy. I was looking up scriptures, I was praying, and I was weighing him out about how we're going to find somebody. But then when we went we were looking for something else, and we walked upon this couple's booth, we both, like, instantly were like, oh my God, that's them, honey. That's the couple. And we went to their small group, and it was amazing. And they're a good group. I mean, and I want to piggyback off of something that Robin said about this couple and about people in general. What's been helpful for us is we didn't expect them to be everything to us in marriage. You know, while we admire so much about them and we admire their walk, we didn't say, okay, well, we're going to be just like this couple because they're our mentor couple. Because the way I'm set up, I can't even be like all that stuff that she is anyway, you know? And so I think that took a lot of pressure off of me personally to when I was trying to get the most out of that relationship. Okay, I'm going to be quiet.
You know, this is awesome. You know, I'm drawing a lot of parallels or a line through this conversation. And one thing that's interesting, I think is important, I'm hearing a lot about it just now. I mean, politically, whether it be theologically, with the church, you know, in business, you know, this whole idea of gender inequity and gender inequality, this whole thing about, you know, men being the leaders, men being the head, women being submissive. And as a consequence, you know, patriarchy has kind of allowed us to have a lot of weak women. And what I want to talk about this conversation is, you know, when the church wants women to be weak and subordinate, when society pushes for that, but yet in these three marriages, one thing I know about all of us is Lee, Maurice, and I, we didn't marry anybody that's weak. So I want to talk about how do you balance being a strong man and a leader, but you're married to this strong woman who has her own thoughts, who's educated, who can make it work for herself, who can navigate, make decisions. How do you balance, Lee? You know, you've been a leader all your life. So how do you balance being married to all who Robin is without you feeling insecure? Because you got a lot of insecure men out there who couldn't handle a Robin or a Janice or an Andre. So how do you navigate that? Because I think a lot of men have missed out on blessings because they can't handle the allness of who that woman is.
I like that.
They'll become one. You know, it's two. It's not one becoming one. It's two becoming one, and she is an equal. God has gifted her and blessed her to do tremendous things. And really, you know, it's not much of what I say to her. It's really about the self-confidence that I have in me. See, I know who I am. I know who I is. You know, I may be overly confident in who God has made me, right? To the point that I know who I am, and I don't have to push someone down. I don't have to step on them on top of them to prop myself up. I know who I am in God. I know what God has called for me to do. And God has a plan and great thoughts for my wife, and it just comes out so freely. So instead of trying to push her down so I can look better, I try and push her up. Matter of fact, I push her too fast to walk in what God has called for her to do. Well, I messed up. I said too fast. It's not too fast. I push her too fast for her. You know, I know where God has for her, you know, but I can't make her walk into that. She has to, I'm there as a support and a help for her as well. And we submit to one another. You know, there's things that I'm strong at, you know, and there's things that she's strong at. There's things that I frankly know that I'm just not good at. I'm not skilled at. That's not my strength. And when she's able to step in that place, whatever that space is, and it has nothing to do with what society has told us gender roles ought to be, or that the wife ought to be, or the man ought to be. No, it's not. It's we know who we ought to be. We know who the Mays are, and who the Mays are works great for us, but it may not work for the Andersons. It may not work for the Smiths, right? But we know what works for us and what is going to continue us on this trajectory that God has us on. And as long as I can remember that, you know, all I can do is be a support for her.
You know, one of the things with women, I'll speak for myself, although I think I could probably speak for Janice as well, but I'll speak for myself on this. A lot of times my need to control, my need to have my hands on something is rooted in fear. My need to control is often rooted in me not wanting to feel vulnerable. And I know for me, when I start to feel anxious, when I start to feel vulnerable, I want to control all the pieces to whatever it is. And now that's not taking away from the fact that I am just a strong personality. It's just who I am. We just told y'all earlier that my dad, when I walk in the room, he thinks people should just start applauding. And so I'm just a strong personality anyway. But I just want to talk about that other side. There are times when I can be very anal. I can be very type A. And often my ability to self-reflect now is often rooted when I'm afraid of being vulnerable, or I don't know what all the pieces are, so I start trying to control it. And what has happened, again, we have been blessed to respect one another's temperament. And his temperament, his consistency, and his covering, and I'm not just saying this to hype him up, because if it wasn't, I would tell that too. His consistency, his love, his covering has created a space where I can breathe. Most women who are strong-willed just want to be able to take a deep breath. We just want to be somewhere we can just, whew. And so because I know he wants the best for me, because I know he believes in me, because I know there's nothing about me that I don't have to water down any of who I am to be with him. And because of all of that, he has created a space where I can submit, I can follow. Because a lot of times in my work as a therapist, y'all, I've asked couples that I'm working with, and I'll ask the husband, what does it mean to be the head of the household? And they are unable to articulate to me what it means. So if you can't articulate what it means, and then you have a strong woman, particularly strong women who got married later than I did, women who get married at 35, who get married at 40, and you're wanting her to take all of her and follow you, and you aren't even able to articulate to her what that means, that's a big battle that you're asking her to take on. And so what he just said, I just really wanted to just highlight that. When his security, his strength in himself gives me the space to be who I am.
What about you? What about you, Maurice? You, Janice. All who Janice is. How do you handle that?
Well, I think for me, one, you know, I really try to lead from a position of love and effectiveness, right? And so, and what I mean by that is, I have, and we kind of alluded to it as well, is when you have somewhat of a vision of where you ultimately want to go as a unit, as a family, I'm less concerned about how we get there and more about that we get there, right? And so it's important for me, and I even, you know, as much as I've taught leadership stuff all over the place, right? It's still, good leadership actually is invisible. right? So, and when it's invisible, because her, we use the term strong, right? But for me, it's really all the same, because if we're going to the same place, or we got some place that we're headed, it's just invisible. So for me, it's about how do I position Janice and the girls and our family in a way that we get to a place where we feel some sense of satisfaction, a sense of love, a sense of belonging, a sense of value. You understand what I mean? And so for me, it's just like I'm now thinking of how can I create that environment for her that allows her to blossom, because as she goes, I go. As I go, she goes, right? And so for me, it's really like, this is who she is. I want to get the best out of who she is in every man. So it just, and like I was saying earlier, I think our previous episode, it's just like you just ride the waves, right? You just don't know what all the stuff that comes with being a strong woman, right? And I'm just thinking, I'm always thinking, like, how do we become effective? And it doesn't have to come from me. And the last point I make, a lot of times with men, particularly for us as men, I think there's a big difference in leadership as men and management, right? There are leaders and then there's manager. We a lot of times think management and leadership, it isn't. Management is controlling an outcome of what you want, and it has to be done that way. Leadership is allowing a person to blossom completely, maximizing their skills, their talents, their gifts, their all of that. So that helps everybody, right? So I like talking about this, but I'll also, what do you think, honey?
I think, first of all, that was good. Excuse me, that was really good, because practically speaking, Maurice had a lot to deal with when we got married older. We had previous fires, and I still had something to prove. And I didn't know I still had something to prove until I got married to Maurice, because Maurice is sharp. We have some of the same areas and categories of life that we excel in, and he does well. And so I don't need you. I came in with this, I don't need you to tell me. I got it. And sometimes his help and his wisdom and his foresight, I felt like he was trying to control me, because it was on me. And, it took me a minute to step back and realize, girl, that's you. Because, he saw a whole nother way that was better, that was smoother, that was more tempered. I guess you all can see Maurice stays at 5, and I'm like at 13, like all the time. And so I want to go super fast, and he want to go all paced and slow. And so, but paced and slow works, and he has a proven path and some wisdom that in the beginning of our marriage I rejected. And I rejected because of my insecurity. And I rejected because I felt like somehow, me, I didn't know what submission looked like, but somehow submitting in the way that I thought this was supposed to be was going to minimize who I was. So I questioned, y'all, everything he said to me. I was like, I'm not doing that. I rejected all the things. And I was nice about my rejection. I think I was nice. Okay, maybe I wasn't nice. But I rejected all the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I was doing this before I met you. I had this going on before I met you. And then what changed for us and what shifted was 2 things. One, I prayed and asked the Lord to show me Maurice's heart. Because I married Maurice because the Lord showed me in a dream Maurice, not his face, but his character and his demeanor and how he would be, how my husband would be. And I dated several guys before Maurice, but Maurice was the only guy that lined up with the dream of the husband that the Lord had for me. And only 3 people knew that dream: Robin, my pastor, and one of my good girlfriends. And so, I was thinking everybody was the one, and they was letting me know he ain't the man in the dream. But when Maurice came around, he was the man in the dream. And one of the characteristics of that man was his concern was for me. And so when I slowed down fighting against how Maurice was showing up, I realized, this is what concern for me looked like. So that was one thing that helped me to really be able to embrace who he was to me and what he was being and how he was leading us. And then the second thing was, I am a strong woman, but I wanted the Lord to teach me how my strength should show up in different situations. And so my strength shows up differently. Sometimes it doesn't have to show up out loud. Sometimes it doesn't have to. Maurice don't need me to make him a strategy. Sometimes he want me to make him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I wanted to create strategy for Maurice. You know, he's sharing his heart, and I'm fixing the whole world for him. And he's not my client. He's my husband. And it took a minute. He has been very patient with me, learning how to just show up as a wife, and know that me showing up the way he needs me doesn't take away anything from me.
That's good. That's good. Let me ask you all this. So since we're talking about the girls, since both of you have all girls, I want to ask this question. Janice, I know that Jasmine has already, started dating. She's older. She's already been in a serious relationship. I want you to share with, the viewers how you navigated the whole dating thing with the daughter. And then Robin, your daughter hasn't started yet, but I want to know, what are your plans on what age, or do you see anything, is she talking about boys now? So I want to get into the whole dating thing with girls from a mom and dad perspective. Janice, you go ahead and start.
Pray. Just pray now. Pray in advance. Because that has been the most challenging thing for us. When Jasmine was Jasmine already started dating before Maurice and I got married. And so I wanted to create an environment. I came up with this great idea. I wanted her to practice dating before she went to college. And so I wanted to give her an experience of dating at home so I can establish boundaries with her, talk to her about different feelings and emotions that come up. How do you deal with this thing? Because I met so many girls that never had their first relationship was in college, and they went buck wild. So surely I don't want that to be my daughter's testimony. We thank God she didn't go buck wild. But the girl is still dating the same dude. Oh my gosh. And so, I feel great as a mom that I created an environment where she can be very honest with me and open with me. And Jasmine tells me what I want to know and what I don't want to know. So I thank God for that. But also, I just learned so much. You can't control it. You open the door and you really don't get to control how fast they go through the door, no matter how hard you try. So that's probably been one of the hardest parts of my journey as a mom, is that I don't get to control that aspect. All I can do is create an environment for which she can thrive. And I can talk to her honestly and candidly, which I do. We even talked to her boyfriend, and now they've been dating as long as Maurice and I have been married. Yeah, they've been dating 5 years. And he's a great young man. I just wanted her to experience other relationships. Honey, you want to?
Yeah, I think that's been because again, one, and this is for coming from a pastor as well. I'm not saying, oh man, they just had a perfect dating relationship, right? And started dating at 16 and just keep going through that process. But he's a great young man. They've been very consistent throughout their time they've been spending together. But likewise, and we talk a lot about this, or some about this, as far as just for both of them, or just for young people, some level of exposure, right? Yeah. It just helps, and but so that part is a little difficult because we really don't have anything negative to say about their relationship, but you just kind of, as adults, you just kind of know that, ooh, just would be good to have a little bit. Maybe y'all will come back, but they don't have to hear any of that kind of conversation.
They break up for 2 weeks, and they don't even be a real breakup. It'd be like he's going to see his parents, and so they decide they ain't going to talk for 2 weeks. What is that? So it's what we didn't. This is what we didn't get to control. We were able to guide them as far as boundaries, as far as this is how to treat each other with respect. This is how you you tackle difficult situations and difficult conversations. We didn't get to control where their heart would get attached to each other, and their hearts got attached pretty early. and they're not open.
Right. And one last thing, I think with her boyfriend, I do spend time with him.
That's right.
Right. And as well as Jasmine. Jasmine and I, we have a day out of the month that we just spend the whole day together, sometimes more. But also with her boyfriend, like, when he had his job, I helped him get his job where he's working at now and just walked him through how to interview, those types of things. So I'm just a big proponent. I think really, First Lady, what you were saying about what's our thoughts, even I think about Jada at some point, right? It's the closer that they are to you, the more you can kind of help shape, right? As opposed to just letting them go out and do their own thing and just like, and just kind of washing your hands or disconnected. So we really try to do things that's more connected with their ecosystem or their circle of friends than otherwise. Yeah. So like if they want to have their friends over, we'd rather you all come to our house than to go to someplace else. Yes. Or if y'all gonna do a party, we'd rather host a party or those kinds of things, right? So because we can influence a little bit better, and yet they still feel some sense of their own identity.
Great.
Robin? So you have some all girls as well. So
13-year-old.
Tell us about
I'm
taking. I know she's probably going through that stage.
We over here shaking our head. Listen, we're still trying to navigate both of our daughters now. Well, when school starts, both of them, the big girls, will be both in middle school. So we're still trying to navigate middle school friend drama. That friend drama is so much. Yes. So I don't even know, like my 13-year-old, what I really want to be able to do, what's interesting is my 13-year-old reminds me so much of Jasmine, Genesis' daughter. They have, because I've known Jasmine well before she was 13, and I see so many similarities in them. And really what I'm trying to do, and I think we both are trying to do, she is so strong-willed. I just want to give her the space to develop into who she is, and not who I want her to be. And I'm working really, really hard to give her that space. And so that comes out even in how she dresses. I'm an AKA, and so I want her in pink, and I want her girly girl. And she's like, no, I'm going to do the opposite of that. And so just giving her the space to do that. But I'll let you talk about how you feel about dating. But I will say this, what has really been helpful. I journal, and I journal to the point of exhaustion, right? Mm-hmm. And I have my journals from back when I was like 6 to 15. And we read my journals together. And one of the entries in my journal has been really a point of discussion, particularly with my 13-year-old, because I was boy crazy. And in one of my journals, I wrote and I said, this is ridiculous. I was 12 or 13, and I said, I need a boyfriend. I have 3. This is what I put in my journal. I need another boyfriend. I have 3, because these 3 are not meeting my emotional needs. This was me at 12 or 13, saying that some boy was not meeting my emotional needs. And that we've used that to see how ridiculous that was for me at that age, so that my daughters can understand how not to get intertwined and intertangled like that. Because so my 13-year-old is like, I don't have any expectation that some boy needs to meet my emotional needs. Well, if you got to use my ridiculousness to help you develop, then go right ahead. So, Dave, what do you say to that?
So, when I think about my daughter's dating, I think about the movie Bad Boys, right? Y'all remember Maurice and Pastor? Right, when the young man came to go date Martin Lawrence's daughter, and they were doing all that scene. That's what I think. I got my boys ready to just go there. And also, I need, for our new house, I need a big backyard so I can put a gun range back there, right? And just that's over my thought with dealing with dating. But no, seriously, one of the things that like I think both Janice and Robin say, you can't really control the pace or even their decisions, right? You could just hope to influence their decision making without you even saying a word, right? And so one of my things that I'm praying for and I'm seeking in all my individual relationships with my daughters is that I can hold their heart, right? That their heart would be open and soft towards me, because I believe if their heart can stay open and soft towards me, they'll be open to listen to the wisdom that I have to say, knowing that whatever I say, even if it's from a tough place, they can receive it because they know Daddy loves them, right? And I don't know what Robin's dad did for her to make her make a particular decision. One of the blessings that we say about our marriage is that we try and be transparent, so we share our mess, so you don't have to share yours, right? The beautiful thing is, I met Robin when I was 17 in college, and she was 18. She was a virgin when I met her, and was a virgin when we got married. Your boy wasn't. Your boy wasn't at all. I wasn't trying to, and took me a long time.
Jesus,
But
we almost made it.
But I wanted to know what her daddy did and said to her, to make her want to hold herself, for marriage or whatever. And that's one of my biggest prayers. Like, you can go ahead and date and all that, but what can I do and say that's gonna influence them enough, even without me saying a word, to walk in virtue and integrity and and all that. So yeah, my main thing is just holding their heart, that it'd be soft and open
That's so
toward.
good. That's awesome. COVID-19 has affected everybody. I mean, it's affected, shut down the world. So you guys both are married. Robin, Lee, you guys are pastoring. Robin, you are doing your counseling. 3 kids in school. Janice, you and Maurice, you're working. Janice, you got your consulting business. 3 daughters, a newborn. Kids go back to school. Kids are back in school. That's happening. How are you navigating all this? Virtual learning, kids in school, the church, counseling, leadership, traveling. How are you navigating? Because I think that's going to be very helpful to the couples who are watching. So I'll start with you, Maurice and Janice. How are you keeping everything together? Work, home, marriage, kids' education. I mean, how are you navigating?
Well, I think one of the things that's a blessing for us is that we're both organizers, and part of my job, so this is what I do for companies across the world as far as virtual learning, those types of things. So leveraging things like, we have a system that I introduced to our family. Is just like, what's on our, what do we have to do, what's in progress, and what's done, right? So, and all of us, we have our little post-its and stickies, and we just kind of navigate through that. That really, gives us a sense of accountability across the board. And it also shows the amount of stuff that has to be done, and then we can do it in within a week or 2 weeks or those types of things. So I think from a practical standpoint, that's something what we do. But then I think the other piece of it is just really, because prior to COVID, like I traveled every week, Monday through Thursday, for work for, most of the time, 95% of the time. And so it's been a blessing. COVID actually been a blessing for me with having a newborn, right? And of course, I was home for 2 months, and then now probably won't have to travel for the remainder of the year at least. So being here and kind of helping navigate through that. But I think the key for us is that we're both organizers, and we give each other space, right? We give each other space, and then as far as schooling, that I think Janice could talk about, we just attended for, like, what do we plan to do for Jada going back to school, which is unprecedented, right?
Yeah. So I'll pick up on the schooling, and then I'll talk about one thing that's allowed me to really make the most of this time, because COVID has been crazy. I mean, we've never experienced anything like this. But when it comes to Jada, this is her 6th grade year. Her first year in middle school is such a pivotal year. Y'all know middle school years is where their identity is shaped. Either they're going to go off the chain or they're going to kind of, mellow out. But this is a critical year for us. And we wanted to make the most of it. And for me, personally, because Jada was just getting to that place where she was just questioning her identity on every end, from her friendships, who is she, how she shows up. it's been a blessing that we got COVID-19 because at least I can impact her more. At least she's home. At least she's home and I can control some of the outside influences. But we wanted to do that in a way that was effective. So last week, Marisa and I attended a homeschooling conference here in our county, just so we can learn the skills. Although we do this in our day job, there are people who study this and they understand the science behind it. And, I'm so glad because my husband is an overachiever. People think that I am, but he is like 10 notches higher than I am. He's going to have me doggone teaching 8 hours a day. And I was already scared and nervous and overwhelmed at the thought of 8 hours a day doing school with an 11-year-old. So we thank God for the homeschooling seminar. Because they told us don't do that. So no, they said 4.5.
That's that for little kids.
4.5. Oh my gosh. So so one of the things we do is, although this is what we do, we took advantage of this time to learn how to do it effectively. There's so many classes online and things that we could do, and that's one way that we learn how to navigate it as parents. But personally, I just had a baby, and the last time I had a baby, I was in my 30s, and the one before that I was in my 20s, and my bounce back was quick. It ain't the same. And so I can't jump and do all that stuff I was doing before. And my mind thinks that it can. But my body is like, boom, you're 42. So here I told my family, this is what I need in order to succeed every day. I need a once-a-day getaway. If I get my once-a-day getaway, I'm #winning. And now for me, my once-a-day getaway looks like this. If I can get a shower, if I can have a cup of coffee uninterrupted, like nobody talking to me, let me drink my whole cup of coffee. And if I could read something inspirational, listen to a podcast, or write in my journal, I am winning. Now, listen, if I'm an overachiever, I'm talking to somebody that don't live in my house, but that's not my goal. If you call me today or text me, it probably gonna take me about 3 days to get back to you. But my life is different. I have a 4-month-old. I'm nursing every 2 hours. I don't even know whether I'm coming or going. I'm a wife. I got an 11-year-old and a 20-year-old. Pray for me. So for me, for COVID, can I have my once-a-day getaway? Because ain't nobody malls really open. I can't go and I have been shopping. Pray for me.
Jesus, please, let's bow our heads right now on that point.
Because Amazon does come quite frequently. But really, what has centered me and grounded me, and my family knows this, is that I have my once-a-day getaway. Because then now and that's really just my self-care. And so now if I can do those 3 things, I'm facing the day from a place of strength. And so my goal during COVID-19 is to be intentional about facing my day from a place of strength and me identifying what it takes for me to get that strength. And for me, a shower, a cup of coffee, and something inspirational.
That's good.
Well, it's bad. You know it's bad when you go to delivery people's name.
I can't hear you, Robin.
I said, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Well, I wanted to ignore that part of the conversation because I want to stay married. And if Amazon show up one more time, it's bad. So you know what? I have to, if you guys can give me the liberty really quickly, I have to say this because this pandemic, I believe, is more challenging than I think we're even giving ourselves permission to understand. When we think about clinical PTSD, in order for somebody to meet the criteria of a trauma, hear me, in order to just meet the criteria of a trauma, it doesn't even have to be a trauma that you personally experienced. For example, first responders can be diagnosed with PTSD and the trauma didn't even happen directly to them. So when you add the pandemic Then you add the racial unrest, and you add all of that at one time, all of that unexpected. Many of us are at capacity and we don't even realize it. Because what happened is, because we're a resilient people, March happened and this pandemic occurred, and we figured out a way to function in the midst of this. And one of the things I just have to be able to take a moment to say to couples, to give yourself the space to understand that you may be at capacity, because we are resilient people, but there is nothing normal about having to dress up like you're going to war to go to the grocery store. And so when you think about that, I just have to tell us to give ourselves the space to decompress. You've got to give yourself the space to release all of that we're carrying. I keep telling people that we are all in the same waters, but we're in different boats, because your pandemic experience is different from my pandemic experience. And one of the analogies I use with the couples that I work with, this pandemic is a demonstration of what's happening in marriages. And so for some couples, they already had the virus. They came into this pandemic and they discovered, wait a minute, we already sick. We already have the virus. Something's already going wrong in our relationship. Some couples were asymptomatic. They didn't realize they had something going on. Then they got into the house with each other over and over and day after day after day, and they realized, wait a minute, we sick. And then there are other couples who don't have the virus, who are not asymptomatic, but now they're having to understand, we have been isolated from everything, and how are we going to function in the midst of that isolation? And so I wanted to share that, because I hope it gives people an opportunity just to take a deep breath. We've never been here before. And so figuring out how to manage that. Remember, I think I shared in the first episode that there are 5 areas that couples struggle. And one of those areas is roles and responsibilities. One of the main issues in marriage is roles and responsibilities. And if you don't create a strategy, a plan, particularly now, because what your roles and responsibilities were pre-pandemic are not the same in the midst of pandemic. And if you don't take the time to pause your life long enough, Lee and I do a strategic plan. If you don't pause long enough to identify what's working, what's not working, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, not get stuck in gender roles, not become inflexible. If you don't do that, you're going to wonder why you're bumping heads. It's because those roles and responsibilities have to be adjusted.
So for our family, so let's be very practical with our family and how we're dealing with COVID-19 and this pandemic. You got to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be intentional. We cooped up in the house. Our kids didn't see the outdoors. I mean, outside of our front and backyard for a long time. So just being intentional. So Robin just gave this example about couples and PTSD and dealing with all of this. Well, one of the intentional things is counseling. Do something that is beneficial to you. Do a virtual online marriage conference. Do a virtual small group marriage group, or read a book together to help you navigate that. For our kids, it's being intentional. Okay, what is this year going to look like? We have a decision to make with our 2 youngest, our middle baby and our youngest. They're both in gymnastics. Well, our gym just emailed us saying, all right, let's get ready to go. August 1, we back practicing in person. And we're looking at each other like, I really was going to say. Yeah, so having that intentional conversation. Okay, babes, this is what they said. This is what we feel. What are you thinking? And let's develop a plan, regarding that. We're probably not going to send our kids back to school. For our school, it's going to be virtual. They're offering a fully virtual experience. We're going to take advantage of that. But what does their social life look like? What does all of the other non-academic things look like? And writing out the plan. And I'll finish on this one thing. Last thing, Robin mentioned about us doing a strategic plan for our marriage. We do a strategic plan every year. At the end of the year, we do a strategic plan for the upcoming year. What do we want our finances to look like? What do we want our continuing education to look like? When we were younger in our marriage, what do we want our family structure to look like with kids? Our youngest, our 6-year-old, is a byproduct
of a strategic
plan. That was me. I put that one in, right?
I've been there with that, y'all.
I did it.
And so we do that every year. Robin has developed this thing called the Couples Playbook that is basically taking what we have developed with our strategic plan and allow couples and even families write out the plan. You know, back at 2 and 2 says, write the vision and make it plain. I love to focus on that plain part because you need to make it simple for simple people like me. You know, and so it's really about being intentional during this season and not letting COVID predetermine what your life is going to look like.
That's it.
Lee, you like me, you are a pastor, and you've been senior pastoring now for 3 years. How has COVID affected you, your ministry, your congregation? Because every pastor has a different story, and it's been nightmares for a lot of us. Very difficult. So I'm just curious, how's that been for you?
Well, I have an ought with you, first of all. You didn't tell me that Sundays came every 2 days. see, for people who don't have to preach every Sunday, Sundays come every 7 days. For me, Sundays seem like it comes every other day. But it's been an awesome experience, y'all. I've really, truly, truly enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed partnering with my wife, you know, on this. We kind of shared this when the church. The actual beginning planning of that came through a strategic plan. We sat down and I began to share with Robin what I felt like the Lord was saying. And I was in politics still. And so we had to figure out what does that look like from politics to preaching. And so we were, you know, a little over we were about 2.5 years when this pandemic hit.
And we're babes.
And we're like, infants, you know, we're still drinking, you know, formula, Similac, right? Got Similac on your breast still. And now the world is shut down. And so not only are we learning how to pastor, number one, because although we've done a lot, we've owned our own business. I've been in politics. I ran a county and all of that. That still is, pastoring is completely different. Now, God was able to allow me to take certain skill sets and learnings, you know, for that. And so what we've had to do is at the same time that we're still figuring out who we are as pastors, learning how to minister to a people who are, everybody's going through PTSD, you know, and so we've had to really take advantage of technology. And of course, like everyone, we've been offering our worship experiences virtually. Our Bible studies have been virtual. Our small groups have been virtual as well. For us, it's really been, we look at the blessings in all of this. And so our engagement is much lower. We see more people tune into our services and watch our services exponentially more, like 10 times more than would ever show up on a Sunday. Financially, it's been a blessing for us as well. But our biggest, I think the thing that kind of gets us a little bit anxious is, are we adequately engaging in the lives of people?
Yes.
Because we're social isolating and all this. People can decide to join in online or not. And we just want to make sure people are still happy, that they're healthy, and that we're able to really pour into them beyond just a Sunday morning worship experience. That we're intentional about being able to do life with people. And so we're always looking at like this Hope TV. I leaned over to baby and said, we're going to do that. Now, we're not going to have 30 million views.
You don't know.
But we'll take 1 million. How about that?
Well, you know, we're glad to have Robin as a part of the Hope TV Family Hour, the Intentional Living Show. So excited about that. It's going to be some great things coming.
Absolutely.
Just finished a series,
Absolutely.
so we're excited about allowing that to expand here as well. You know, we're going to wrap up now. Janice, you've been doing consultations for a long time. You helped us with our MYM. Maurice, you also are doing leadership development. So how can people contact you in terms of they want your, I know, Janice, you have a newborn, but are your services available to the general public? What do you offer and how can people contact you?
Thanks, Pastor. Yes. So yes, even with the newborn, I'm still able to see clients in a virtual environment. If you're a visionary, if you have a vision and you want to know how to build, brand, and expand it, we can have a conversation. Just head over to my website, www.moruwa.com, MORUWA.com. We'll have a brief get acquainted session to see where you are and how I can best support you. One of the ways that I work is I help visionary leaders to develop a strategy, stop doing things randomly, all willy-nilly, but have a solid strategy, a track that you can run on. And then for those who are further, they need more than a strategy. I actually run a full service marketing consultancy. So for every strategy we create, we have a team that can offer execution services. So we offer training, we offer execution services, or strategic consulting. And again, you can just go to Moruwa, MORUWA.com and learn more about me.
And awesome. And so one of the things that I would like to highlight, for corporations that want to do some business with Accenture, that's who I work for on a day-to-day basis. But I wanted to highlight another form and platform that we use that's been growing and very robust. It's called Good Men Talks. And it's a platform for us brothers to really just talk. It's not necessarily about who can be the deepest spiritual and exegete scripture and that kind of thing, but it's really about men having an outlet, a forum where we can just talk about whatever. So, and we have various platforms there. We have a business portal, a part of that, a segment of the economics and business. We've done a lot in the business arena. We also have one about relationships, and then we also have one about fitness. We're really big on being total fit, whether it's exercise or nutrition and that type of thing. So it's you can reach me at the Mo Anderson. That's on Twitter, or also at goodmentalks.org, goodmentalks.org, or at the Mo Anderson. We'd love to connect with you soon. All right, brothers.
Outstanding. You guys are great. All right. So, Robin, I want you to talk about how can people contact you in terms of your practice, talk a little about intentional living, and then Pastor, I want you to talk about the church and also a book that you gave me some years ago that I think was incredibly prophetic, and how people can contact you in the church. So, Robin.
Okay, so I shared earlier that I am a little bit obsessed with helping women walk in their purpose and destiny and understand fully who they are, and helping couples do what I call get out and stay out of the roommate zone. The roommate zone is when you're living in the same house together, but you're not really doing life together. You're doing your thing, your spouse is doing their thing, and I call that the roommate zone. And just let me tell you this, every marriage I have encountered has either been entering the roommate zone, they're smack dab in the roommate zone, or they're coming out of the roommate zone. And so I have this 2-lane highway. The way you can connect is to go to robinmayonline.com. And since this whole conversation has been about marriage, you can connect with me when you go to robinmayonline.com. You will see the network I Believe in Marriage. You see us rocking our I Believe in Marriage shirts now. It is I Believe in Marriage, so you can go there. I also am a certified life coach, and I am a licensed therapist. And when you go to robinmayonline.com, you can find out how I can support you on your journey, either through coaching or through counseling. And when you go to the website, there are plenty of free resources that you can invest in with your time, but there are also some resources that you can invest in financially that can really help your spouse, you and your spouse, get on the right plane, get on the right same page, number one, because many times I have found that you doing one thing, I'm working on another book called Are the Two of You in the Same Marriage? Because I promise you, folks sit on my couch and I'm like, are y'all even in the same marriage? And so I want to help couples get on the same page. So you can find all of that by going to robinmayonline.com.
Amazing. And again, my new name is Stedman. Just call me Stedman because, my wife is amazing. Literally, go to her website, robinmayonline.com. I'm telling you, you will be blessed for marriages, for women, for people really trying to have a strategic plan for their life and direction. Pastor, I want to say thank you for your friendship all these years, from when I was in politics, from a county commissioner to the CEO of DeKalb County as well. You've been a friend, you've been supportive, and I thank you. And thank you for even letting me talk about our church on your platform, right? So I would say this, for all of your followers, after they go to Hope TV and watch you preach down the house, right? After they give their tithes and offering to House of Hope, then they can tune on over to Transforming Faith Church. TFC.com. On all of our social media platforms, we're at TFC for Transforming Faith Church, at TFC DeKalb, and they can follow us that way as well. And you mentioned about a book that I wrote. I wrote it about eight or so years ago. I can't believe it's been that long, but it's called My God, My Politics, a discussion on faith and politics. And I thank you for even bringing that up, because I know that I'm supposed to be doing something with that book right now, because as you said, I believe it is prophetic, and I believe it can speak to this time that we're in right now. And so, yes, you can still find it on Amazon, or just Google it and you can find it and purchase it, and the book will be shipped to you as well. But it's frankly taken two aspects of my life that I've been going back and forth in, it seems like, for the lion's share of my adult life. It's taking what I believe in my faith, because at the core of who I am is my faith. It's God and the principles that are found in the Bible, and connecting what I know to be true and fact about politics here in this country. And you know, there's been this saying that there's this divide between church and state. Well, you can't divide me, my faith, from what I believe in terms of what's right,
Yes.
from policy and all of that. And I believe that you can rightfully divide the word of truth of the Bible, and you can take what you've learned in that and connect it with how you believe our government ought to be run. And that doesn't mean you proselytizing and getting people to say the name of Jesus and all that, but it can still guide everything that we are. And so it's really bridging the two, bridging our faith and what we believe in policy and politics. And it's really me helping people to even determine what they believe.
Yes.
Stop letting the Democrats and the Republicans tell you what you ought to believe. Stop letting their political alignments predetermine what you support. Let who you are and what you believe in God help to outline what that looks like. And it's not as easy as what they'll argue on Fox or CNN. It's not that simple. You got to rightly be able to divide the word of truth, and then be able to understand our political framework and let one speak to the other. So essentially, that's what this book, My God, My Politics, is all about.
That's absolutely outstanding, fam. As you can see, we have some resourceful people here on the show. Been incredible. I want to run through those things again for you. Of course, Janice Anderson, you can contact her at marua.com. Of course, that information is on the screen now, marua.com. Husband at Demo Anderson on Instagram, and it's Good Men Talks. That information, website is on the screen as well now. So you can go to that, get all information. He talked about leadership and nutrition and health and all those things where men can talk. So we need as many resources as possible for men. So the website is on the screen right now. Then, of course, new member to our Hope TV family, Robin May, Intentional Living, and her website right now is on the screen. Please make sure. She talked about one of the books that she's writing. She has some other content. You've written some more books? You have some other books?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! 1, 2, 3, 4. She written the first 5 books of the Bible. So y'all go get Oprah. Y'all go get all the Oprah Junior's 5 books right now. The website is on the screen. That's Robin May. Please go. The information is on the screen right now. Please go check out the website. I promise you, you won't be upset. You're gonna thank me later. And then, of course, last but not least, transformingfaith.com. The information is on the screen. As we know, this is a real kingdom platform, and we believe we need as much inspiration as possible. And this is a man of God, a man of faith. And so I want you to find out about his church. If you're looking for a church home, want somebody you can connect with, Transforming Faith is there on the screen. And the book that I love that he gifted me with, I thought it was 6 years ago, but you're right. It's been 8 years that he gifted me with, and I read it. One of the few books that I've read that somebody just gave me.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? My God, My Politics on the screen right now. You can get it from Amazon. That's by Pastor Lee May. It's going to bless your heart from the heart of God. I believe it can be very, very insightful, particularly as we try to navigate these political times in which we're living. So the Andersons and the Mays, you guys have been amazing today. Anything you want to say before we close?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It's been
Pastor.
amazing. May God continue to bless you, all your journeys. You've encouraged us. Thanks for sharing your stories. And may God continue to keep you as you blessed us. May God just reciprocate that. So thank you very much for sharing your stories for 2 weeks. Guys, if you missed last week, part 1, please go back in the archives and make sure you watch part 1. It was just as powerful, just as impactful of this wonderful episode of Marriage Matters. Well, our time is far spent now. I've got to leave you. But as always, remember this. If you be good to God, God will be good to you. You've been watching Marriage Matters on Hope TV. Take care. Peace. Thank y'all.
Committed public servant, vested Henry County resident, and a devoted family man. Endorsed by law officials statewide and a member of the Georgia Jail and Sheriff Association.
Hello, my name is Reginald Scandrett, a 30-year law enforcement professional, and I'm running for sheriff in my home community of Henry County in 2020.